Okay, this video is a second part about pipeline services, and I'm going to show you how to do the UI part of a pipeline service, how to define a pipeline service in the UI. And okay, the first thing that you do, I'll unpin this for now. The first thing you need to do is look on the right hand side and you'll see a tab over here called My Pipeline Services. So we pin that, and you can see I've been playing around with a couple of these in here. Let me just define a new one. The first thing you need to do is define the path, and the first part of the path needs to be a string that's unique to you, usually a domain name, and then you can define a folder path if you want, and that's where it will appear in this folder as well as over here in the community toolbox. And I'll call this one bill service. And there's two types of nodes, pipeline nodes. One's a normal input-output node where it can connect to, an output from one node can connect to the input of this node, and then it'll have an output that will connect elsewhere. And there's also an output-only node, and those are useful for things like fetching sequences from database or other information and getting them into a pipeline. So I'll click OK, and if I look here I'll find the test, and there's bill service. And okay, the first thing you see here is the profile, and the profile is useful for pipeline services that have a lot of parameters, like BLAST for instance has many parameters, and you don't want the user to have to keep entering the same thing over and over. So if I check this profile box, when the user drags the node into the pipeline editor, there'll be a profile combo box at the top where they can save profiles, so they can go in and they can make all the parameter changes, and then they can save it in a named profile which they can then access later. So in this case I don't need the profile because I'm only going to have two fields in this service. And the expand height is the height that when someone expands the node inside the pipeline editor, it's the height that it will expand to. Sometimes you have to experiment with this a little bit depending on how many parameters you have. I know 100 works well with two nodes, so I'll leave it at that. And the description, I'll just put bill service, but you can put anything you want here. Okay, now for fields, I'm just going to enter two fields. I've been playing around with this, so that's why some of these are filled in already, but I'll use the same field for this node, for this pipeline service. The field name is length. The field name is something that will get passed into the code of your pipeline service, and this is the string that you'll use to retrieve it. The field title is what shows up in the UI, so I capitalize the first letter, and I'm going to make it a text box. You can choose a text box, combo box, or a multi-line text box. So I'll click OK, and I'll do another one, and I'll just call it max. And it's the same thing, it's a text box. So I've got two fields in there. Now the permissions, it's the same thing we talked about in another video with pipeline permissions. You can use this my users and groups to define groups, and then you can assign the groups to pipeline services or pipelines to allow them to access it. In this case, I'm not going to assign anything, which means I'm the only one who can access it. And the start server, we'll get to this later. This allows you to start the server on your computer so that other people can start using your pipeline service. Okay, I'm going to cut out this video right now because I'm trying to keep these all under 5 minutes, and I'll continue it in the next part and show you how it looks when you add it to your pipeline editor.